Welcome to Get Wed,
a podcast to plan your wedding by.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Kerry.
And we're both here as professional photographers
and brides-to-be to help you plan your big day.
Each week we'll discuss a topic that you'll encounter along your wedding planning journey.
And with the help of fellow industry experts, we'll navigate this crazy wedding world
together. Hi everybody, and welcome to episode 12, season 5 of Get Wed.
The last episode of the season.
Yeah, we hope you've enjoyed this season. We thought this episode we would talk about things that your guests don't care about. Yeah. So we hope it helps.
Yeah, there's plenty of things that I think you can spend all your time and money on, but your guests just don't even notice. So we're going to go through them, and we've got 7 to go through, and then we've got 3 things that we think they do care about at the end. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Oh, exciting. Okay, so one of the things that kind of popped into our brains straight away, well, it's more Kerry said actually. Do you want to go into this one?
Yeah, because this sounds really like I really unappreciate things, but I don't think the welcome. Yeah, I am. I don't think the welcome drink matters. The one.
Do you not?
No, I mean it's nice to have a drink, but I mean I'm not a big fan of prosecco.
Oh, maybe that's why then, because I love
probably what it
prosecco.
Is. Yeah, I mean I'm not bothered by that. Perhaps if it was something exciting, like I do like Pimm's actually.
You like a gin, don't you?
I like a gin. If you gave me a gin and tonic as my welcome drink, I'd be really happy. But as long
as the next wedding you do know, everyone's going to have prosecco, but one gin on the side for you.
Thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
But as long as there's a bar, like I'm not bothered by someone coming around and giving me a drink.
Oh, you not? Because I must admit, I do think everyone's kind of wants to party, and it's just that first one, isn't it? And then it's like socially acceptable to carry on. But yeah, it is tricky, and it is an expense. So I think, do you think you could do away with it and not have it then?
Yeah, I think you could easily do away with it, or maybe do like a help yourself type thing.
Mm-hmm. What, like pimp your prosecco?
But pimp your gin.
Pimp your gin. But you just think open the bar and people wouldn't mind?
Yeah, I don't think people would mind at all.
Do you? I could have saved loads of money, damn it.
Yeah, I know, me too. I don't know whether it would save you money. If you've got an open bar anyway, I don't know whether it would make much of a difference. But for me, I didn't really, I wasn't worried about the Prosecco going around on the tray. Yeah. I might be alone in this though, so we might have to put this out there to a vote.
Yeah, let us know what you think, if you think that's necessary or not. I guess it depends if you've got a bar that you pay for, which we did, and yours was free, you see, so maybe that's the you don't want to seem like you're being tight. But anyway, we've got off one. So we were thinking maybe welcome drink would be something you could do away with. And another thing, which is such a pain, and actually we didn't do this because we were on quite a budget, so we didn't do wedding favours.
We didn't do wedding favours either. Because I think after the initial sitting down at the table and everyone going, oh, look, this is lovely, then they forget about it.
Yeah.
And they start dancing and they get drunk and they go home and they're all left behind. So
they are left. You always see that, don't you, at a wedding? They're always on the table still, unless it's something really easily packable. Normally you have like a tiny little handbag though and trying to squeeze in like a little...
Yeah, exactly. It's usually like the favours I've seen in the past that have been left behind, which is really sad, are things like pots of jam or like sloe gin or something that people have made and obviously spent loads of time doing, and then they're all left behind because people have just got really drunk and enjoyed your wedding and forgotten about their favours.
Yeah, that's so true. I wonder why wedding favours kind of came into place in the first place. Do you know why?
No, I don't know. They used to always be sugared almonds, didn't they? That was like the traditional
thing.
They
did. You're so right. Yeah, you don't see many of them anymore, actually.
No. I wonder if that was some sort of meaning. We should probably have researched this before we started the podcast.
Probably.
We're learning here. We're only 5 seasons in. We're getting there.
Oh dear. But yeah, I definitely think you can. I think favours, if you've got the budget and you can do something really funky, then do it. But we didn't, and I think no one minds. No. It's more something to play with when you're bored and you're waiting for your food, really, isn't it?
I think the key to a good favour is to do something that can be dealt with there and then. So if it's edible, like a biscuit or sweets or something like that, that's great because you can quickly eat them there while you're starving hungry waiting for your dinner. Or similar if it's like alcohol, so slow gins and shots and stuff might go down well, perhaps not with...
Yeah, everyone could do a little shot together and kind of brings the table together.
But
I think anything where it's kind of games and stuff as well is a good idea for just making your table kind of start talking and if they don't know each other.
Yeah. But then likewise, I've seen some really lovely favours, like little plants and all sorts, which is really generous, but I wonder how many people do take them. So I would take Katie's advice of thinking, if you're going to do a favour, can it fit in a tiny handbag?
Yeah. Like conkers, that was good at my friend's wedding. Yes. We all had a lot of fun playing with those conkers. So yeah. Things you could destruction. And it's quite cheap. If you can do it cheaply, go for it. But if not, don't stress. Just scrap it. Don't worry about it, I say.
Yeah. We did make little badges up for our wedding actually, but everyone tried to collect a set, but they weren't, they didn't cost as much, and people just wore them. So they put them on and that was fine. But yeah, I didn't do anything over the top that cost me too much money. Yeah,
wearing them is a good idea too, because at least you're wearing them and then you're going to take it home because you've put it on. So that's a good idea.
I've just branded everyone with our badges.
Yeah.
And then something else just popped into my head that I forgot about. Lots of people do charity donations instead now.
That's really nice. I think that's a really nice touch. If it's something sort of special to your family or you, then that's really nice.
And quite often they come with little pins, don't they? Like enamel pins. So.
They do, yeah. Or lottery tickets. I've seen people do that. It must be so expensive though.
Yeah, and I'd be so annoyed if I did lottery tickets and someone won millions.
Yeah,
I'd be like, I want that back to pay my wedding.
I have to have a share of that.
I'd be livid. Also, I've gone off on a favourite tangent, but seeds packets and things.
That's nice.
They're nice, but do people ever plant them? I would say no.
Yeah, no, you're right. I did get seeds once, and I don't think I did.
I think I've done it before. I've had the full intention of going home and planting them seeds up, and then they're probably in a drawer somewhere.
Yeah, in the man drawer somewhere in your house.
Yeah.
Just,
but maybe the favours are just there because it's like it's looking generous and being nice to your guests. I don't know. Do we need them?
Yeah.
I don't think we're bothered.
No.
So yeah, skip the favours.
Skip the favours, we think. Yeah. Something else as well that we thought about was the bouquet toss. So are people that fussed about it? What do you think, Kerry?
Out of the weddings that I do, so I do around 25 weddings a year, and I would say probably 5 or less do a bouquet toss.
Mm-hmm. And do you have to organise it normally?
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Because whenever it ever happens, I'm always the one trying to sort of work out where someone can chuck it from.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a bit of height so people can throw it.
Yeah.
But I think the bouquet toss puts a real pressure on people. And I said this to Katie before we came on, that if you're in a relationship where you're not engaged, but you've been with someone for a while and perhaps you haven't spoken about marriage, or perhaps you do want to get married, but you're kind of not wanting to pressure your other half. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
To then be like, all the single ladies come forward. And then it's like, well, do I catch it or is that going to scare him off?
Yeah, it's so true. Well, if you have like a whole load of friends, you do tend to sort of, the little dynamo effect sort of starts, doesn't it? And then if you're the last one and you're heartbroken and you really want to get engaged, like I was desperate to be engaged, I had to wait for 6 years, like, and then it could probably be quite upsetting if you're like the only one standing there.
Yeah.
Like,
especially if you've
just like giving your bloody boyfriend like evils the whole time.
So how many bouquets did you catch?
None.
Oh, that's why you had to wait 6 years, Katie.
That is, isn't it? But I think that's so. I kind of think it's kind of fun, I guess, isn't it? But a lot of people want to keep their bouquets too because they're so expensive. You don't really want to lob it and lose half of it on the floor or something, do you?
But you could throw a bridesmaid's one.
That's true.
Pick your least favourite bridesmaid and throw theirs.
Yeah. Someone who's been annoying you that day and just get some set.
And lots of florists do make bouquet toss bouquets nowadays. Just like a little mini one. So you could, if you do want to do it, you could do it. They do make brilliant photos, I have to say. I think they're best done when people have had a few drinks.
I agree.
Because then people are less reluctant to come and join the rabble to kind of, get in there and do it. But I think if you do it, I went to a wedding once where we were friends of the bride and groom and we didn't really know a huge amount of people there. And the photographer had kind of done the family photos, then we were walking over to the reception, and on the way over it's like the bride had to stop in these steps and then he just called all the ladies in. And I was I don't really know anyone here. It was like an awkward moment where it was like Russell's family, friends, So I didn't really know a huge amount of people, and suddenly I was in this mass of girls who I didn't know, and there was a bouquet being tossed, and we were fairly new in our relationship, and I was like, do I try and catch this?
Oh yeah, you've got that awkwardness too, haven't you?
Yeah.
Where you don't want to like look like you're too keen, but
and take it away from someone more deserving. So
yeah. Oh, so we think maybe do away with the bouquet toss. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, save your flowers. Do that dry freeze. What was it? Freeze. What did you say the other week? When we talking about bouquet?
Yeah, I think you can freeze dry them or just dry them out. Yeah.
Do that instead.
Yeah, hold on to them.
Another thing that we think is a total waste of money. Well, not a waste of money. Well, yeah, it is a waste of money.
You could see Kerry just talking to herself, and she could just bait it out.
I mean, it is a waste of money, but it is a nice thing. But I don't think it's necessary. Is the order of ceremony program?
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're having a church do it, maybe it's a bit more needed. But if you're not, then save yourself some work. Don't worry about it.
Because I did think about doing these for our wedding, and eventually I didn't do them just because I must have forgotten about it, because it wasn't until we'd done this episode I was like, oh yeah, I was going to do that.
Your things to do. Oh damn.
Yeah, I didn't cross that one off. But no, I missed them, so that's obviously gone well. But I think, like you say, if you're having a church wedding, they're sometimes more useful because people want to be able to read the words, to sing the hymns, and have all that information there. But yeah, I think otherwise they are just a bit of a waste, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. And that, you've got someone to have to give them out or put them out, and it's just another thing to worry about in the morning, like have they been given out properly, and are they there, and
I mean, they're nice in the way that they kind of bring a bit of your wedding branding in, don't they? If you've kind of gone to town on your invitations, and that's sweet to, have the look there. But I mean, I don't think people, once the ceremony finishes as well, I bet they'll all just be left behind on the chairs. And
oh, definitely, they all just get dumped, don't they? It's
And I've come home from weddings before, actually, where I've got loads in my bag. Like, well, not loads. I've only bought one home.
You keep stealing them.
Like, I brought one home with me, and I'm like, well, what do I do with this now? Should I keep it? Should I throw it away? Because I feel a bit guilty throwing it away. But I'm like, what am I going to do with it?
Yeah, no, that's true. You're not going to frame it, are you, if it's not your own?
No, exactly.
The only people who probably do want them is just the bride and groom, really. So
yeah. Do you know what? I did see some really good order of ceremony alternatives. I did a wedding, it was years ago now. And it was they were lucky. It was a really hot day because instead of doing programs, they'd made paper fans with the details of the ceremony on.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's a nice idea.
It was an outdoor wedding, and they look cool. So I had the couple's name on the front and then the details, of the ceremony on the back. It was only like a civil service, but if it had rained, they would have been a bit useless. But everyone was sat outside in the sun fanning themselves, and it looked really nice.
That is such a cool idea. I really like that. Okay, so if you can do it in a funky way. Maybe do it actually.
And also, whilst we're here, this is like a little added extra that I'm just thinking of is with confetti, if you do confetti, don't bother putting it in anything.
That's so true.
Like cones and stuff, because people cones. Just throw them on the floor.
They look really nice, don't they, when they're all sitting there waiting like to be used, but they are just more rubbish, aren't they, for people to ditch. You're right.
If you've got ushers and stuff, just get them to go around and let everyone take a handful, because otherwise, again, when you walk out of a ceremony, that the stuff that's left on the floor is your confetti cones and your ceremony programs.
The things you just spent like the entire day doing beforehand.
I mean, it's depressing enough watching the confetti fall around you and thinking how much money you spent on it. It's literally just throwing money in the air.
Or the hours of drying it out under the fire.
But to see the little cones left on the floor is quite depressing. But don't skimp on confetti. Don't do that. Because that is definitely worth confetti. It. Just don't do confetti cones.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. That's a good tip there. Another thing as well that I'm not too keen on is guest books. I sort of think, I always run out of things to say in them. I think everybody, I kind of look at a few pages before me just to be like, what have they written? Oh, that's a really good idea, but I can't steal it now because it's really obvious that I've stolen what they said.
That's exactly
everyone
what
kind of just writes it like, oh, be such a nice couple. No. It's just, I don't know. Does anybody sit and read that? We didn't have one, so I don't really know if that's a nice thing to do the next day.
It might be. We didn't do a guest book, but we had little postcards made up. And on the back of the postcards, we had a thing that said, tell us your best marriage advice or well wishes.
That's nice.
Everyone filled them in, and it was really fun sitting down reading through them the next day actually. And it's a bit like Mad Libs, so it was like, what's your name? Our favourite part of the day has been. And
that's quite nice. I think giving people a little bit of help is a good idea if you're going to do it, just to get some funny ones, so everyone's not just writing the same thing.
Yeah, and some people drew pictures as well, so it's really sweet looking back at them, and some of them are hilarious. Like Russell's friends who got very drunk and just got really rude on them.
Yeah, I was going to say, all we'd have is Willies if we did.
Yeah, exactly. We had a few of them, but we did have some really nice ones as well. But I think that's a good alternative. But like you with guest books, when I've gone to weddings as a guest, I see that big empty blank page and I think, right, I've got to make my writing really big.
Yeah, that's so true. Hey. Yeah, no, that's so true. And also, like, with a lot of weddings I've been to, I've sort of tried to give the book out as well, because sometimes it will just sit there and no one is writing it. Everyone's too sort of frightened to start. So I think you could probably, unless you're going to do it, and again, sorry guys, I've just given you more work really. Unless you're going to do it in a cool way, then don't worry about it.
Because, like you say, everyone's going to go back and try and write. There's only so many ways you can write wishing you a lifetime of happiness.
Exactly. And thanks for having us.
Yeah. And I tend to wait till I'm really drunk to write in a guest book so that I've got something to say.
That's a good tip.
Because then the words come flowing. You almost regret them as they're coming out.
You're writing a poem instead.
Yeah. But I think there's loads of really good alternatives to guest books. Like you've got these little fingerprint trees. They're a bit different. Jenga's a good one.
The Jenga blocks.
Yeah. There's
little heart things you can slot
in the frames. Yeah.
All sorts of things.
So try and, or even like the signature frames that you get with a picture in the middle. You haven't got to write very much, have you? So
yeah, and then it looks quite nice in your house. And
so I think
as long as no one spoils it.
I always get people to write them in pencil so you can rub them out.
That's such a good tip.
Thank you very much.
There we go. Another brilliant tip from Gary.
So maybe if you do want to do a guest book, just think about more fun ways to do it. But I don't think your guests will miss it. In fact, they probably dread that book coming around towards them.
Yeah, that's so true.
I always find men avoid it as well. Do you find you have to write it for Jack?
Yeah, it's always the girls, isn't it? Yeah, no, you're right. It's just not really. No, it's not really something they do. And another thing was centrepieces for tables. So I personally really don't like, especially the big ones,
because you can't see each other.
People, you can't see anything. For your photographer, it's a nightmare because they can't see anyone. It's just and as a guest, you can't chat to people easily if you've got this big old thing in front of you that's cost £250 per table.
Yeah, I think centrepiece is one of the things that can easily cost you a small fortune, but like you say, aren't that necessary. I think there's better ways to decorate a table that shouldn't cost you a lot of money, and if you're going to do it, either bring the height above the people's heads, hanging from somewhere.
Oh, you mean way above?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Or
just really low on the table, so that if you're sat on a table and you're looking across the person opposite, it shouldn't come up to your head. It should come to like so here. True.
So you can do lots of eye contact and still chat, definitely. So I really just don't think it's necessary. You have so many bits anyway, like wine and you just need a few candles or some simple, very simple flowers in a tin or something. You don't need to go crazy.
Yeah, you don't need to go over the top. I think people do go too far with them and spend a fortune. I think it's more about how you dress the place setting than the thing in the middle. So maybe you need a table number so you know which table it is. That's fine. Perhaps a little jar of flowers. But like you could have a really nice runner on the table to draw some interest and do something nice in everyone's place setting, perhaps. Yeah,
or like give them a thing to fill in or a game or, something like that rather than
just
massive.
Just don't go overboard. I mean, do something nice and little, but not too eccentric. Just keep in mind that your guests need to be able to see each other across the table, because there's nothing worse than being like, oh, I can't see you. I know, like, this is
awkward, but I'm not allowed to move this because it was so much.
And quite often on the top tables, I find that if there's a big flower arrangement on the front of the table, it's always by where the bride and groom are. And when I'm doing speeches, I tend to crouch on the floor. So when I'm on the floor, I then can't see the bride or groom. So I end up going, can I just move this? I'll put it back after the speech. Yeah, no, that's a really good point as well. So, do away with it, we think. Yeah. Or just tone it down. Tone them down.
Yeah. Bring it down. Tone it down. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Whilst we were talking about that one as well, we've mentioned about other things on the table that aren't all that necessary. So I know I've heard of weddings in the past where people have hired in like really posh crockery, like plates and stuff. Do people really care? They're just going to eat their dinner off it.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And like really expensive napkins, people are just going to wipe their face on them. So don't spend a fortune on that.
No.
Even like you could get like gold cutlery and stuff, which I almost considered for our wedding, but I was like, no, Kerry, tone it down.
That would be cool. Again, if you've got the budget, then go for it. But I think if you're trying to be a bit savvy, then don't really worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think your guests are going to sit down and be like, oh, I can't believe I've only got silver cutlery.
I'm really disgusted at this. She's not kept in with her theme at all.
The wedding was great, but the cutlery really let it down. So yeah, what was our last one?
We thought possibly seating plan, but this is a tricky one because in some cases it is quite important who you're sitting with. There's nothing worse than looking at a seating plan and being like, no, you sat me next to who? Oh God.
Yeah, but seating plan is the most stressful thing from a couple's point of view as well, because trying to figure out where to seat people was the one thing I had nightmares over.
Yeah, it is horrible. Like if you don't argue as a couple when you're trying to organise that, then you really, really, really should get married, because it's pretty easy to want to kill your fiance or when you're trying to do it. Nightmare.
But yeah, I mean, seating plan. How did you do it? Did you seat your friends together?
I still upset people. You can't win. I think that's the main thing. Like if you can literally say we're having a barbecue, sit on hay bales outside, sit wherever you want, then that's great. But if you have to do one, we moved things around we had things on blue tack and we were just constantly moving it around.
Yeah,
it took hours. It was awful. And then one friend was upset. She didn't even, because you got to think about, we had long tables and she was sitting right at the end, and she sort of said like a year later, like she was a bit offended because she kind of felt that she was at the very back of the room and wasn't as important. And oh my goodness, it's so hard. So
yeah. The thing is, no matter what happens on a wedding day, somebody's table is going to be at the back of the room. No matter what you do, you can't avoid it. So it's really impossible to explain to people that everyone is equal and you're not think of anyone any less because they're at the back. It's just how it has to be.
Just the way things have just figured out, isn't it? And it is very hard. So I think maybe if you can do away with it, then do. But it's a bit tricky, isn't it? You kind of have to have a bit of a plan normally.
I think sometimes guests, although people will complain about your seating plan no matter what happens, having a bit of order today is what people are after as well, because turning up and being like, oh, I don't know where to sit, and then perhaps you try and get 10 people to sit around, who are trying to sit around a table of 6 because they want to sit together. Then you've got empty tables elsewhere. So
that's true. I know one of my friends, they just hired a pub and they sort of had street food, so it was literally sort of grab it in containers and stuff and then try and find somewhere. So they got away with not having a seating plan.
Yeah,
people were okay, but it is tricky.
It's very tricky. So we've said that your guests won't care about, but they probably will care about your seating plan. Just depends how you do it.
We sort of thought we confused you and say that you don't need it, but then actually you do.
I mean, you should know us by now. We're not going to make this easy on you.
I know. We like to try and make you think as well as us. So
yeah. We like to try. You should be taking notes by now, so when you're ready for your test at the end of the episode.
Oh dear. And we were kind of thinking, right, well, we've talked about all the things that you don't need. What are the things that maybe we think make a really good party from our experience? So
these are the things that your guests are going to care about. So if you're going to think about putting your budget anywhere, put them in these 3 areas. And we think that they are the food, the drink, and the music.
Yeah, definitely. So, we thought those are the main essentials that make a good party from what we've seen, I think, definitely.
Yeah. So make sure there's enough food so that it doesn't run out, because if it does, people will just be like, oh my God, I didn't get any food at that wedding, and they'll go on about it forever. Yeah. Or they'll be like, oh, there was so much food at your wedding, it was amazing.
Yeah. I took some of my bag and I took it home and
I was eating it for the next week. And then likewise with drink, if you can afford to do a free bar, then your guests are going to love you.
That's true. I really wish I could have done a free bar. I do. Yeah, but booze is important, and non-alcoholic booze. We're not complete alkies, but I think that's quite important. And then personally, I love music, so I think music is really, really important as well.
Yeah, that's the bit that keeps everyone on the dance floor and happy. So yeah, go for music as well at the end of the day.
And we kind of thought, is it good if it looks cool as well? But that's obviously not essential. But I do think when you first walk into a room designed really nicely and everyone's like, oh, and like really excited for kind of the new bit of the sort of wedding revealed, it's quite cool. But
yeah, it's like that instant wow factor, isn't it? I think you need something that when people are going to walk in, they're going to go, oh my God, this is going to be the best day ever.
Yeah. So yeah, we kind of think that if you style it well as well, then it's quite important. But it's not a deal breaker. It doesn't matter too much.
I think sometimes it's not about the room looking totally amazing. It's about your wedding being slightly different. So if you're in the situation where you've got loads of friends who are getting married, sometimes the weddings can be a bit same old. So perhaps if you're doing something a bit different and out there, that's what makes it for your guests, because they're like, oh, this is so unusual. So
yeah, that's true. Or like, oh, what's going to happen? And what's that? And yeah, that's really cool.
So yes, we hope that's helped. So hopefully you'll take on board our tips to get rid of the things people don't care about, but do more of the stuff that people do, and then your wedding will be talked about forever, which is what you're trying to get happen.
Yeah, definitely. Where everyone goes, your wedding was the best wedding ever.
Yeah, people still keep saying that to me, but I don't know if they're just being polite. So
oh, that's really nice. Yeah. So Kerry must know what she's doing then if people are saying that. Yeah, so just copy her.
I am the authority here. Everyone, please do listen to me. But thanks for joining us. Yeah, everybody. That now concludes the last episode of season 5. So we really hope you've enjoyed us being back and Katie being back, more importantly.
Yeah.
Hopefully. We are going to be in our Facebook group between now and our next season, which will be back in autumn. But we're kind of at a bit of a crossroads because we have obviously both got married now. So we're running out of topics a bit to talk about because we're obviously over the other side of getting married. We are now married. So we just want to get a bit of advice from you as our listeners on which direction we take the podcast in. So we're going to put together a little listener survey for you to take part in, just so we can think about the direction of taking Get Wed in season 6.
Yeah, and what we talk about.
Yeah. So come along and join our group and get involved, and we'll see you in the autumn.
Lovely. Thank you everybody for listening, and see you soon. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening. We really hope that you've enjoyed this episode of Get Wed. Don't forget you can always subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, and while you're there you may as well leave us a review. You can join us for more wedding chat in our Facebook group if you just can't wait until next week. You'll find all the links that you need via our website, including show notes for this episode, over at getwedpodcast.co.uk. We'll see you next time. Happy planning!